Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Janice Garbrandt, and I'm here with Professional Development Virtual Group. And today we have Blythe Morrow speaking to us today about how to build a book of business for consulting. Before she starts, we're just going to run through a little bit of past news. We've got something interesting happening this year at Past Summit. They've introduced learning pathways. And what we see here is one of the samples. It's the AI for Everyone learning pathway. And so these pathways start with a kind of an introduction, and then they progress into potentially more detailed or more advanced topics in the topic of the pathway. Looks like a really interesting way to approach Summit. There are several pathways available. Feel free to check them out online. And there's a Facebook Live event coming up soon with Melody Zacharias, and that's happening on June 26th. So there's links here, and there'll be information on past Twitter and past newsletters as well. But I encourage you to check that out and ask Melody some questions. There's more virtual groups happening with meetings all the time. Here's just a few samples. We've got lots of cloud and DBA fundamentals. We've got business analytics coming up and some virtualization, women in technology. There's also groups with different languages. You can see here in a nutshell all the different virtual groups. So thank you for attending the professional development webinar, but I encourage you to check out from time to time what the other groups are offering as well and find other things that match your interests. And another fantastic way to get the most out of PASS is attending these free SQL Saturdays as they pop up in your area. I think this coming weekend there are 7 SQL Saturdays happening around the world. And so keep an eye on what's happening in your area. And if you do see one happening in your area, feel free to reach out to the volunteers and offer help. Always appreciated. So there's always ways to connect with PASS. They're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn. The Twitter in particular is a good way to keep in touch with other people in the community if you're not doing so already. So I'm going to change the presentation mode over for Blythe. And keep in mind that during the presentation you can ask questions. You just type them into the question panel. I will see them and will ask. I may get a chance to ask them throughout the session or perhaps just all at the end. And this session is being recorded and will be available on the YouTube channel later. Watch my Twitter handle. I always post when the videos go online. So Blythe, thank you so much for presenting for us today. And I'm going to mute myself soon and let you take over. I do see your screen. So thank you.
Thanks, Janice. Do you see this this panel here, the GoToWebinar panel? Oh,
I just see building a book of business.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for the intro, Janice. And are you going to the Past Summit in November?
You bet. I think this will be number 7 for me.
Oh my God, yeah. I'll be there too. It's crazy because you're in Victoria, Canada. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and Melody, whom you just talked about, she's in the interior. So I feel like this is like the Canadian takeover of PASS right now.
well, right now this is like the Canadian Western Canadian female takeover of
Oh
PASS,
my goodness!
sure.
Look at us! Look at us! The future is female. So thank you everybody who's on the call today. This is a call for consultants and freelancers, and so as a fellow consultant, I know what it means to take an hour out of my day for non-billable time to work on my professional development. And thanks for being here and choosing how to build a book of business as what you're going to do today. 4 years ago, I was on the feast and famine nightmare of consulting. It was a really, really tough year for me. I was working probably about 60 hours a week. And honestly, I really wasn't enjoying it. It wasn't something that was really fulfilling. I had no work-life balance, and I was really struggling to meet my deadlines, and I was fighting against scope creep at every single project I took. And then when those projects were done, I was always desperate and scrambling for more work. And so I was at the point where I really needed to make a decision for my business and for my, my own personal development. Do I go back to working full time, or do I have to shake up everything I'm doing? So one day I just got so tired of the stress. I picked up the phone and I called every single client I had, and I said, I can't work like this. And if you want to work with me in the future, you need to sign a 6-month retainer. And we need to spread out these hours over a minimum of 6 months. And that's the only way that I'm going to actually be able to deliver value in your business and leave some time for myself. Looking back on that, it was really interesting because I didn't lose one client. They all signed up for a 6-month retainer, which just shocked me. And now that I've been able to kind of reflect a number of years later, now that I have an agency and employees, that was a pivotal part in my business, because not only did it afford me the retainer income of being able to know that I was going to be able to pay my mortgage the month after, but it allowed me to build into my business model time to work on my business. And so, Brent Ozar talks about this a lot, and a lot of the bigger consultants in our community often talk about making time to blog or making time to work on what you're trying to build. And I wanted to start off with that story, because I feel like if you're here wanting to learn how to build a book of business, which is ultimately a sales and marketing discussion, that's never going to happen if you haven't figured out how to take time to step back from working in your business and to work on your business. And that's really a critical piece of what we're going to do here today. So be honest with yourself about where you are in your business model, whether you are a single freelance consultant working by yourself, whether you are part of a small team of consultants, or whether you have a business and you're looking for marketing and sales ideas. The big question is, when are you going to do this stuff? Because marketing and sales, network building, all of this, it takes time. You can get started with building a book of business with very little dollar investment. Like it doesn't cost a lot, except time. So that's my caveat for this session. I am one sec. My slide is stuck. One moment. There we go. So I'm Blythe Morrow, like Janice said. So I am a data platform marketing specialist, and I own PaperSword B2B. So we're a marketing agency that specializes in working with people in the Microsoft data platform. We're specialists of, talking about data. And I've been in the PASS community for 10 years now. I actually used to work for PASS. So I'm at this will be my 11th summit coming up. Yep, it's been a lot of years, and it's been a lot of fun. But our business model's changed a lot over the years. These days, the only project that I take on is a small intro messaging engagement of about $1,500, where business owners get to work with me to clarify their message and build their primary marketing messages. Ultimately, I find that sometimes that's all you need before you can go into executing and implementing. So then we move into a retainer model, but often a lot of small organizations, they just need the right words and the right path to know what to focus on. So I'm fortunate that I'm friends with some of the most brilliant technical folks in the entire world, just as a product of being involved in the SQL Server community. And I'm the person that really loves words. My love language is writing. I've been writing for my entire life, and my favorite thing to do is just find those two words that fit really well together, that communicate something quite complex. So before I move on, I want to talk about how we build a book of business and where you should start. Because a lot of companies just waste an enormous amount of money on marketing. And when I talk about money, time is also inside of that. Because before you start going out and leveraging your social channels or putting together a blog strategy or trying to get people to come to your business to buy from you, you need to be able to communicate your purpose clearly so that people can connect with why they should do business with you. It seems so simple, but it's not intuitive for a lot of technical organizations, and I really do see this problem every single day. So we're going to start today with the message that you're telling people. I have a girlfriend that I've known for a long time who just recently changed jobs. I love LinkedIn. Spent a lot of time on it. Just really curious about what companies are doing and how people are moving between them. So she just popped up on my LinkedIn yesterday, and I was so curious because she was leaving Airbnb, which is such a great company to work for. And I love this girl and I wanted to see what her new company did. So this is it. This is what I blacked it out because we don't, I don't want to call them out while this is being recorded. But this is what this company said that they did. They're a small company and they create technological products that put humans back into the heart of companies and seek to revolutionize work. We like to see ourselves as a lab running experiments on the future of work. From Quebec, we strive to take advantage of the digital revolution to help redefine enterprises' practices in order to foster creativity and innovation like never before. So I've practiced delivering this session a couple of times before I'm talking to you today, and so I've read this out loud 2 or 3 times, and I still don't know what this company does. They use these beautiful marketing words though, right? Like visionary and revolutionize and creativity and talking about the heart of companies. But there is a true lack of clarity here. And here's the thing, here's the secret. People don't necessarily buy products that are the best. They buy products that are the clearest and that they can understand the fastest. So you may be a DBA consultant or a BI consultant, a data warehousing consultant, and there are 100 consultants out there, 1,000, 10,000, who are claiming to be able to do the same thing as you, or who maybe have a similar skill set. But you are going to close more business and you're going to build your book faster if you can be clear and concise about what you do and how you can help your customers. And this is an example of, how not to do it, right? I just wanted to show you how much words matter. And so to understand why people want things, we need to match the right words to those wants. We need to better understand how the human brain works, right? Like how people consume information and how we can get them to act as quickly as possible so we can develop messaging that will help you build your book. And so psychology tells us truly that the human brain really just wants 2 things. When they're trying to figure out what you do, what your messaging is, they only want 2 things. They want to survive and thrive, and they want to conserve calories while they do it. And so we live in this technological age, right? Things are moving so fast, things are changing. And we like to think that human beings are so advanced and complex. But ultimately, even though we have this accelerated period of technological connectedness, we still have the need to connect with this survive and thrive visceral reaction. Human beings are constantly consuming messages and thinking, how is this going to help me survive? How is this going to help me thrive, right? And so I like to think about it, if I'm at in an office and I see that somebody, I'm going to go out for a cup of coffee, and I ask someone beside me, hey, can I grab you a coffee? I'm just going to go down the street. I'm not doing that because I want to be nice, right? I think that is truly how it comes across. But ultimately, deep down, in terms of like who we are as human beings, I want to make this person like me so that when the barbarians come over the hill tomorrow, this person's going to help me fight them off, right? Everything we do comes down to that need for survival. And so, so when we were talking about conserving calories, you know, the human brain consumes about 600 to 800 calories a day. That's why you're exhausted when you get home from work, right? And you have just been sitting all day. We're constantly burning calories. And so when you're looking for something, when you need, you know, help in your job, or you need, you know, you need help moving your organization forward, you're going to truly take the path of least resistance. And so when you think about, when you tell someone what you do, when you are building your messages, when you are writing your blog posts or writing the content on your website, are you helping your leads or the people that you're serving survive and thrive? And are you doing it simply so that they can conserve as many calories as possible? And ultimately, if you're confusing your audience, you're just going to get a no, because the result to confusion is just to tune out or to say no. So I'm gonna take you through an exercise of describing what you do as technical consultants. Then I'm going to teach you how to take that and then spin it into a marketing and sales plan that helps you build your book. Excuse me. So let's say you meet a business owner of a growing manufacturing company, and she's struggling with her data, her applications. She has no idea how to scale her infrastructure. She's an expert in manufacturing and she's killing it, but she is struggling in her technology. Well, that person could probably use your help and advice, right? Like, and let's say you met her in an elevator. We're talking about an elevator pitch here. Or you met her at a barbecue. She's your uncle's cousin's best friend's wife, right? And she says, so what do you do? What do you do for a living? And your response, your initial response, because if this is a very hard question to answer, you say, well, I'm a DBA consultant, or I'm a consultant and I do data architecture, or I'm a BI consultant, or I build Power BI dashboards. You have instantly lost her. Even if she knows what you do, even if maybe she has a DBA on her team, you've really done zero in the way of telling her how you can help her and inviting her into a conversation about that. So truly not knowing how to describe yourself is costing you business. And if we don't know what to say, people truly don't know how to buy from us, and they don't know to contact us later. They don't know how to become part of your network. And that really, yeah, that does cost you business. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about how to create that one sentence that you can use to explain what you do, to help people identify with you so that they can not only understand where your skills fit in their life, but they understand how your skills fit in other people in their life, so they can pass you on to pass your knowledge and what the pain that you solve onto their network. So for the purposes of this talk, we're going to start and end with your elevator pitch. I would normally do kind of like a one-liner elevator pitch and then break it out into a full-on kind of sales letter or messaging framework, but we're going to start small because I have an hour, not even. I have 40 minutes left. And then I'm going to tell you, and then I really want to give you something you can walk away with today so you can start developing business from the content that you develop. So when you build your elevator pitch or your one-liner, you're going to do three things. And it's, you know, identify the problem, explain your plan to help them, and then describe a success, the promised land. You tease the promised land. And so I'm going to take you through each one of these points. I'm going to give you some examples of elevator pitches I've heard in our industry that have just been very, very, very good. And then if you look in the footer of this of my presentation here, I have a free marketing resource package. I built this for this session. So if you go to bit.ly/papersword resources, I actually have a worksheet that you can work through in terms of how to build your elevator pitch. So let's talk about the first piece, because this is ultimately the most important thing you're going to do when you're working on your sales and marketing, and that is identifying your customer's problem. So we want to be really specific with the problem. We don't want to say that I help you manage your data when you don't have time to do it. We want it to be like super laser focused, and I know you probably have a ton of skills and you solve a lot of different problems, but for the purposes of your elevator pitch, you want to pick one, right? You want to pick one and pinpoint that problem, even if you have to leave something out. Once you've done that, you're going to explain how you help them, like the how, right? That plan, and then the result of that plan. So this is my elevator pitch that I've worked very hard on. So most companies waste a ton of money on marketing that just doesn't work. So for that first problem that I'm agitating, I'm talking about the company that's throwing money at marketing that isn't generating them leads. I could talk about their brand. I could talk about how they're building brilliant products and don't have a way to communicate it. I could talk about how they don't have design resources. Paper Sword, from my perspective, because it's my business, we solve a heck of a lot of problems. But for the purposes of my elevator pitch and how I communicate my services, I just picked one, and that's that, you know, marketing ultimately is a black hole of a money pit. And so when I moved on to my second, the second piece, which is the plan, it's I run a company that helps you clarify your message and then generate leads. This is a two-step plan, right? We work to clarify the message and then we implement and generate leads. Really simple. And then that promised land is, oh, as a result of the plan, the company can start growing again. So let's go back to this. And again, I only have 40 minutes. So for a DBA, let's say that your problem is that the company doesn't have time to manage their data. Going back to this. So we found that companies with a lot of growth have trouble managing their data, trouble securing their data, problems analyzing their data. You can choose. I run a small consulting company that securely manages their database's performance so they can focus on building their business. So when you do something like that, you are essentially inviting someone into your story. You're inviting them into your world. Imagine that woman who runs the manufacturing company. You're saying to her that you work with growing companies who are struggling, and you fix it by working on their performance and executing assessments, working on their performance, and then building a roadmap for their future. Whatever your special secret sauce is, and then teasing the promised land, and that invites her to come back and say, actually, we're really struggling with managing our growth. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you do? And you've just started a conversation. You now have a new LinkedIn connection, and you can further market to her. I wrote a couple of other ones. So I find that developers and DBAs generally just really hate each other. So I created a company that automates database operations, so there's less stress getting code into production. So that is more of a DevOps elevator pitch. For BI folks, business leaders need data on their companies in real time in ways that they understand. My team builds Power BI dashboards to visualize their data so they can make quick decisions. So your elevator pitch really needs to get to answer these 3 points. Now, you're going to hear this from me. You're going to be like, okay, so somebody's going to say, what do you do? And I'm supposed to answer with, we found that companies with yes. And actually, I went through this entire exercise a number of months ago where I forced myself to learn this and to repeat it over and over again. When people ask me what I do, I repeat this at barbecues. I repeat this at networking events. I repeat this, you know, when my family asks me what I do, because, you know, my family still doesn't quite get what I do. And when somebody says, Blythe, what do you do? I say, well, I have found that most companies waste a ton of money on marketing, and it just doesn't work. I run a company that helps them clarify their message and generate leads so they can grow again. And so many times people are like, oh man, my cousin's company has this, oh my goodness, they're spending $5,000 a month on Facebook ads, and they're not, you know, they don't know what to do. And I say, you should get that person to call me because I can help them. This happens over and over to me, and a lot of it just has to do with practice. And this is how you build your book, right? If you are a consultant that bases your business on referrals right now, you need to be able to communicate what you do in a way that agitates people's pain so that you can place yourself as the person that can help them solve that pain. All right, so let's talk about the mechanics of actually building a book. So I'm halfway through, so I'm going to do this in 20 minutes, and then I'm going to point you to this free marketing resource package that's going to help you build what you need to build using your specific elevator pitch and the messaging that you're going to create today. So I think we're going to be able to do this. So I'm going to suggest that you do one of two things when you're developing business and when you're executing a marketing and sales strategy. The first is to develop a lead magnet, and the second is to use marketing automation with an email sequence. So, so now that you've figured out what you're going to say to people, how you're going to agitate that customer pain, and how you can help your customer, putting that lead or that client at the center of your world, right? Not your services, but your client and their pain. Now you can create content that you can deliver to them when they're not quite ready to buy. And this is how you build a pipeline. This is how, as you're working your 40 hours, or you're gonna go down a little bit so you can work on your business, your 30 hours a week of billable time in your business, you could take an extra 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, and you can start building a pipeline. To do this, you're probably going to need, you can use pen and paper or an Excel sheet. I did that for a while, but it really helps to have just a small CRM. HubSpot CRM is free. I use Keep an Infusionsoft for email marketing, and the pipeline and the invoicing and quoting system is great. So think about what technology you're using if you want more specific information on that. The consultant Slack channel for the PASS community is amazing, and there are consultants that are really deep inside of doing this work and have used all the tools and have some great recommendations. If you're not part of that group, please join us, because we go through a lot of this stuff. Excuse me. So now that we're at the actual lead generation, business development piece, there are a ton of different ways you can go. There are a ton of different strategies in terms of how to build a pipeline and build your book of business. I am going to suggest that you do these two. If you are blogging every single day, if you are using social media and LinkedIn, if you're doing videos, and those channels are working for you, I want you to think about incorporating some of what I'm going to talk about today and adding it. If you say, I don't have time to add it, I think you should switch from what you're doing to what I'm presenting. And if you need more information about that, I'm happy to jump on a call with you and talk you through what you're doing and how we can make it a little bit better. So I see a lot of consulting companies pouring a ton of time and money and effort into blogging about acute technical problems their customers have, like what's the difference between join and union. That's a horrible example, but you know what I mean. the thing is that those are not problems that you specifically solve for your customers at a high level. They are technical questions that you're answering in the hopes of getting SEO and people onto your websites in the hope that they have some need and that they'll hire you. So it's a very very top level sales and marketing strategy. And if you don't have the bottom of funnel pieces done yet, then doing those like constantly blogging, you just have missed the pieces that you need to set up first, ultimately. So we need to realize that not everyone is going to buy immediately from your website or through referrals. So someone's going to come onto your website and they know they may have a need 6 months from now. They know they may have a need a year from now. They really like your content, but they just don't have a need, and they don't see ever having a need for your services. But you never know, right? And so the best thing you can do is understand what you sell, be able to articulate it, and then deliver content that, again, agitates that pain. So we're going to talk about writing a lead generation PDF. This is going to go on your website, okay? And this is what in the marketing world we call a transitional call to action. Your call to action on your website 100% of the time is going to be schedule a call, right? Talk to me, tell me about your pain so that I can help solve it, right? And then we can talk about doing an assessment and then working together. But especially for this market, first, nobody likes getting on the phone. A lot of business is done via email. And second, they may really like the content you're putting out. They may really, have been connected to you at a conference or through SQL Saturday, but they don't have a need yet. They're not ready to pick up the phone and talk to you. And so, excuse me, the transitional call to action, a lead generating PDF, a white paper, gives them something to download, gives them something of value, and then you trade for an email address so that you can keep letting them know what you're doing, what you're thinking, and demonstrating that you have the capabilities to help them in their work. So you need a lead generation PDF that gives something away for free. It's got to be high value. Don't hold anything to your chest. Just give it away for free, truly. You should establish yourself as the authority and demonstrate that you have expertise, and it should solve a real problem that the customer is facing. I've seen some really great lead generation PDFs, like checklists when you're hiring a consultant, kind of like a companion guide, a really cool interview with some product or program management folks at Microsoft, free samples or scripts that you can run that make your life easier. But ultimately, you need to trade it for an email address. So industry standard from a marketing perspective is that an email address, it's becoming more and more valuable. People aren't wanting to give it away. And so if you think about whatever you're creating from a lead generation perspective, costing between $10 and $20, then that's an equal trade, because we have a very, very tough market that does not like sales and marketing. Let's be honest, DBAs and director of IT folks are not super keen to give away their information. Let's go higher than that, and let's say if you write something that is $20 to $30, that they will be more likely to give you their email address. Make it amazing, right? And know that these people are coming to your website and they're downloading your transitional call. They're clicking your transitional call to action and downloading your lead magnet because they want to hear about your company. They want to know what you're thinking. They want to know more about you because they're not ready to buy. So they are giving you permission to tell them more about you and your services. You've already nailed your message because you know their pain. You just need to write a lead generation PDF that gives them what they need. So I have some more. Oh, it should have an interesting title. Yes, that too. So what happens when they download this lead generating PDF, this lead magnet? Then what? Well, they're going to look for emails from you. They are, of course, they just gave you their email address and they're not dumb. And they don't think that that's all that they're going to get. And so you need to create, I always say before you go to market, excuse me, before you put things up, you should have 3 emails written. So you want to deliver that PDF, and you want to deliver 2 pieces of really, really great content. Maybe you've done a talk, or maybe, and you can share that recording. Maybe you have a really great testimonial that describes and agitates the problem that typically customers like this person would see, and you've solved that problem before, so you can add a testimonial. Or maybe you can talk about an objection that customers have when hiring IT consultants or analytics, and how they can overcome that. The 3rd email should be your sales letter, because at some point you're going to have to ask this person, hey, I've delivered you a bunch of stuff. It's great that you came to my website. I love that you're interested in my content, but let's get on a call. Let's have a conversation. So I do the lead magnet, then 2 really, really, really juicy, great pieces of resources that the lead could possibly want, and then I do a sales letter. If I don't get a meeting from that sales letter email, then we keep delivering content. Sometimes, if you don't have a need for 6 months, you just need to keep demonstrating that when that person does have a need, that you're the person that can help them. And so I would say a minimum of 1 email every month, preferably every other week, so twice a month. This has really replaced the quote unquote newsletter that was really popular about 5 or 7 years ago. You used to sign up for a newsletter from a company, and then they would send you a bunch of links of things the company was doing. I see a lot of larger organizations are still doing that, and some really prolific bloggers and like the internet famous folks are still doing that, because they've become a source for a certain kind of information on the internet. But most companies are doing what we call a nurture or a drip campaign, where they're just reminding, hey, I exist, and I can demonstrate, and here's me demonstrating that I can help you with this problem when you have it. Oh, hey, I exist. Here's me, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you have a blogging strategy, as most of our consultants do, maybe you just replace a couple of your blog posts by writing these emails and then delivering them to the list of folks who have come on and downloaded your lead magnet. So when you're writing an email campaign, you need to make sure that you're adding things of value. Your emails cannot be, hey, I am so awesome, I created this product, we have a new remote DBA service, we have a new dashboard in a day training session. Your customer wants to know how you can help them, not what you're doing. And it's really important you don't descend into kind of the navel gazing that happens when you're coming out with new ideas of how to sell your services to people. You need to establish yourself as the authority. And I would argue that not only do you need to establish yourself as the authority, but you also need to demonstrate empathy. So you can't just go to a client and say, I am the best, I'm a Microsoft MVP, I'm a Microsoft master, I've worked with some of the most complex environments in the world, I can do all of this great stuff, without saying, but I understand what you're going through because I've had this pain before. You need to get personal with these people, and you can do that in your writing. You really can. Just make sure that you don't come across too boastful when you're demonstrating authority by sprinkling in a little bit of empathy. So your email campaign needs to resolve that problem, and this is why I always start kind of how to build a book of business with that one-liner, because you've identified what problem you're solving. And when you're building your pipeline, you can continually come back to that problem, right? And it really creates a bond between you and the customer. It should get an email address. That's not right. You already have their email address. I apologize there. That's a typo. So let's talk about specifically what you're going to do over the course of this. So you're going to create the lead magnet, and then you're going to use an email marketing campaign that brings people back to your website, because your website is really the keystone. If you think about an arch, everything that comes together to allow a customer to walk through and do business with you, the website is really the keystone that holds all of your marketing together. In the free marketing resource package that I have, I've actually got a website checklist for you, so you can see if what you've got on your website is industry standard for helping you move people through your sales funnel. You're going to create a series of 3 emails with your lead magnet, and then just kind of track the emails. Understand when you send someone an Azure resources page, or hey, I'm playing with SQL Server 2019 and here are all the really great automation tools, or hey, we've got this checklist if you're thinking about hiring a consultant, here's what you should expect, etc., etc. Track the opens, the closes, and the click-throughs. Only have 1, maximum 2 things you can click in an email. Make it easy for the person to understand what you want them to do inside of those emails. And again, I just really wanted to reiterate that you need to continually agitate that customer pain point. I feel a little bit like a parrot. I think I've said that 6 times over the course of this session, but it's so critical. It's not about your service, it's about their pain. And every email should add value. And I've talked to a number of different folks in a number of different industries at this point in my marketing career, and the one thing that folks in SQL family get is the add value piece. Nobody has ever come to me and said, I want to create an email campaign and I just want it to be words and I don't want to create anything for people. We're a giving community. And so this shouldn't be too difficult for you, especially if you're doing a lot of blogging and you have a lot of knowledge that you're used to sharing. You're speaking at user groups, you're speaking at SQL Saturdays, and if someone needs help, you're on SQL Help and willing to lend a hand. You can leverage that knowledge and that need to share to add value, but also help build business for yourself. So I've got here some delivering content via emails. This is kind of like a checklist of what you want to do when you're creating an email. So if you're sitting down and you're thinking, I don't even know where to start, this is kind of your 6-point checklist. What do you want to accomplish? And then what do you want the person to do? And then just tell a story. Your compelling subject line is so important, but don't get stuck here. If you're really stuck, just try using the person's name and then asking a question. That opens a story loop that they'll then dive into to read more, right? If they're curious about how to answer that question. And then the only other thing that's really important is that you use a clear first-person voice. We speak, so we as a company believe that blah, blah, blah. We at Acme Consulting believe that you shouldn't have to, I don't know, you shouldn't have to, whatever your value statement is. That's not really cool anymore. People don't want to hear from companies, they want to hear from people, right? We're in a B2B industry where you're a business trying to do business with another business, but at the core of that is one person trying to connect with another person. And so you can use very informal language if that's your style. You can tell jokes, and you can be yourself. You don't need to be formal and professional unless you're a formal and professional person, in which case then that works. So I just want to, I'm going to leave a couple minutes for questions. I just want to talk about quickly the difference between marketing automation and e-blasts, because I find that this, for folks who haven't done a ton of marketing, the difference can be a little confusing. So when I say that I want you to create 3 emails, what I'm ultimately telling you is that you're going to create a marketing automation campaign. This is different than 3 separate email blasts. And how it's different is essentially there's technology, there are marketing automation platforms out there where you'll create a series of 3 emails and you'll keep adding to it. So every couple of weeks, those, you're going to have a 4-step process, then a 5-step process, then a 6-step process, and you'll build it over time until it's, 20 emails long. Excuse me. So when someone comes to your website and downloads your lead magnet, they go into a marketing automation campaign. They get the first email, then the second email, then the third email, then the 4th email, and they'll get it every other week or once a month. You're going to play with it and figure out what's good for your audience. You're not going to put that customer or that lead in a bucket and then just send them whatever you're writing at that time, sending them the quote unquote newsletter. By doing it in a campaign base, meaning that you're controlling what the person is seeing and the sequence of emails they're receiving, you get to tell a story over a certain number of months or over a certain number of weeks, and the emails can build on themselves. So they're not just a haphazard spray of whatever you're thinking at the time. And that's how we used to do marketing. And now you can just get a lot more personal because you can control the sequence and the content that goes in each piece of the sequence. I hope that makes sense. And then as you get maturity in your marketing and in your sales process, then you can add things like lead scoring, and you can insert forms, and you can do events and webinars, and because speaking at PASS and at SQL Saturdays is awesome, but you don't own the list, you don't own the people who show up, and you can't I can't market to everybody on this call afterwards. And so being able to run your own events is really important. That's kind of like marketing, 300 level marketing. We're talking kind of like 100, 200 level right now. So when you're thinking about bringing on the lead generation and really building out your book of business and being intentional with your pipeline, I strongly suggest that you consider bringing on a marketing automation platform that works in this way, where you can build a sequence of emails and have time in between each sequence, like 4 days, 14 days, 20 days, where you're following up with people, and it's not just broadcasts that are going out. So move off a traditional constant contacts or traditional MailChimp style of reaching out to people and move on to something like Campaigner or Infusionsoft or Keep. It's a little bit more expensive. It is. It's true. It's not as expensive as HubSpot, which is like $800 a month. I think Keep is a little less than, I think it's like $90 a month. It's based on how many contacts you have. But if you're serious about building a book of business and managing your time, your work by building a pipeline of leads that are going to be coming in, then it's really worth it, and it'll really change the way that your leads connect with you. So that's me. Again, I've got the paper sword resources. So in that, you're going to have the document that helps you build your one-liner, a website checklist so that you can make sure that your website has all the pieces that it needs to bring leads or to bring those kind of contact form completion. And sometimes it's just a couple things that you need to do to start generating leads. And then I've also added a longer messaging worksheet so that you can start building out those sales letters in a way that leverages your one-liner. So I've got 3 resources there that you can kind of sit and work through. So your homework is just schedule an hour, you know, maybe Friday, which is tomorrow, at 3 o'clock. Just take the last hour of your week, put your laptop down and write out your one-liner and start practicing it. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter, and I'd love to hear from you what you thought about this session, if I left anything out, and how I could help. So thanks. Oh wait, so I've got time for questions, Janice, if you want to ask if there are any.
No, I'm just fielding a couple questions about the link. I provided it in the chat as well for people.
Great.
And there was a thank you and a comment. Great presentation. And if anybody else has a question, type it in quick and I'll pass it on to Blythe. You mentioned a free CRM tool. What was that?
The HubSpot has a free CRM in it, and it's awesome. So if you want to build a pipeline, so let's say you have you've got an assessment that you deliver for 1,500, which is, you know, what I do, and then you kind of have retainers that back out onto that, and you're selling assessments and retainers, and you want to set stages in your pipeline, like, oh, here's a lead, and I've sent a quote to this person, and quote accepted, the invoice has gone out, and et cetera, et cetera. HubSpot's free. But when you want to start doing anything more, right? If you want to do any email, it's $800 a month. So it gets expensive. So you just plan that when you do move into the marketing piece, you're going to have to move into a different platform. So that can be painful.
Okay.
It is really good though.
A few more comments. Great informative webinar and awesome content, Blythe, very valuable.
Thanks. Thanks, guys.
No questions coming in, so I think we'll probably turn off the recording pretty quick here. But thanks so much, Blythe, and yeah, everybody grab the resources off Paper Sword. Oh, somebody's typing.
Oh.
So we'll hold off a bit.
I'm just gonna drink my tea. I'm sorry that I was coughing in your ear, everybody. No,
you did good.
You can also, if you do have marketing questions, you can always hit me up on Twitter or LinkedIn. I'm happy to answer them. So.
Okay, so here's the question. Do you think that requiring a phone number turns people off from downloading your content?
Yep. So most marketing consultants, people that teach you how to build a pipeline, want you to require a phone number. But we're talking to DBAs and directors of IT that are never, it's just not, nope. It's not the market for it. So I would normally say yes if we were in a different industry, but this industry isn't friendly. And if they want a phone call, they'll give you their number when they fill out the contact us form. I've tried both, and I never get far with a phone number.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I know I'm okay with giving out my email address, but not so much the phone number.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we're gonna stop recording. So thanks so much for everybody for tuning in. The webinar will be posted for public viewing on the past YouTube channel. And again, thanks so much, Blythe, for speaking to us today. And
Thanks for having me.
Everybody enjoy the rest of your day.
Great, thanks.